This is the backyard pond. It was dug from a field and is now full of life. This summer we will be looking forward to finally adding our resident bass. Welcome back to the backyard pond. I have definitely been slacking, as you can see. We've got a little bit of green tinge to the water. I haven't been around much to throw in the dye. I haven't put the water column clarifier in. We've got a little bit of the green returning. It's not too bad. It's not anywhere near as bad as last year, but I definitely want to get some dye back in here. Bass season is opening this weekend, so I got to get ready, get this cleared up, get a little bit more bait in here, and then we can finally throw the resident bass in here. So enough of the talk, let's get to it. I'm going to put 2 packets of blue dye in. I've never done 2 before, I've always done 1. So let's just put 2 in and see how blue it goes, see how it looks. And I'll put that 15 ounces of water column clarifier in as well. And we'll come back on the weekend in a few days and see where we're at. Maybe sneak to the bait shop too and get a big bag of minnows, getting ready to stock those bass this year. So let's get the dye in. Wear gloves. Here we go. Man, this stuff is potent. Going for the aerator. Gonna get it all over myself here again. Oh, too far. It's like cornhole. Oh, too far again. Look at how potent that is. Those are little droplets. That stuff is crazy potent. All right, I had this lying around from a homemade transit job. Look at that. Blue. Everything is blue after that dye. It's terrible. So I'm going to stick this into the water and I'll go down as far as I can see, and when this white bar with the black lines on it disappears, I'll stop and we'll see where we're at for water depth. And then we'll test that later on to see if this dye and clarifier is doing anything in this warm weather. Out there. 18, 19 inches. So I'm about there where I can lose sight of the bottom. So we've got about 18 inches of visibility in this water right now. All right, trapping minnows. Oatmeal balls, the best bait for minnows. Oatmeal and water and freeze them, and then you can just dump them in like that, and the minnows love them. Oh yeah. Lots of duckweed here in dark water, but I can see minnows everywhere breaking the surface. Kind of surprised to only have 1 minnow in that first pull up, but if you've been following along and you know my career numbers, that's probably about right. That is some weird colored water. Pretty much a total waste of time, but I did get a giant minnow there. That is big. It's not a sucker. I don't know what that is. We'll take him. This is like a stickleback or something. If you look at the spines on that, kind of cool. Lots of work, lots of time for 3 minnows, so that's usually why I don't trap minnows. We're almost there. All right, we're home. Let's get you out of there. It's time to stock some minnows here. I was just at the bait shop. My minnow guy, everybody needs a minnow guy. He gave me a bag. There has to be at least 500 in there. So they're smaller ones. That's kind of all he had, but they're great for this pond. I only have a couple bass in here, so some will get eaten and some will hopefully survive and reproduce. What I really want to do is get them into the water in the bag to help them acclimatize. I have warm pond water. This is really cold tank water. They keep their minnows in extremely cold water, so this is dead of summer here. There's going to be some shock, so I'd like to let that bag float in the pond for a little while. I was just rinsing out this jug, and that is my water color right now. So you can see a little bit of that aqua colored green that I get here naturally. There's probably a little bit of blue left over from the pond dye, but pretty darn good. Certainly a lot better than we were last year, that's for sure. That was some heavy green water. Over the last few weeks, I've been training the minnows to eat fish food. This is just koi food that I've had around since we dug the pond 4 years ago. And it took a day or so for the first minnow to catch on, And then once one caught on, they all caught on. What then happened after about a week is the sunfish caught on and said, this is pretty good food. And now they are definitely putting a dent into my feeding plan. What I wanted to do is signal to the fish that it's time to eat. I wanted to make a noise or something that would bring the fish in and be very consistent with it. Every time I'd feed them, I would do the same noise. I decided to use a hockey stick and just shake the water. It didn't take long for them to actually catch on to that, and when the water's really warm, they'll come in and start jumping right away. There's so much bait in this pond. It's been great to watch them reproduce and grow their numbers. The goal of this, of course, is to feed the bass. So the minnows eat the protein and then the bass eat the minnows. Going into the future, I'd like to get these bass to totally trust me. They're getting close now. I can get close to them. I can throw them a minnow. They'll see that and eat it. But I'd like to keep getting them closer and closer and closer until I can basically hand feed them, gaining their trust. I think it's time to find out if this beach project from last fall is a success or a failure. I have not yet walked across the shoreline, and we did this like last fall. The issue last year after we did this beach is I have this landscape fabric underneath it, and it's like commercial grade landscape fabric. It is so thick that it doesn't really let the water penetrate through. So when we put the sand out, it was light and fluffy, and then when we got some moisture from the pond and from rain, it pretty much turned to quicksand. And I would sink over my ankle down into the beach. So I think it's packed now. It froze last winter, obviously, for a few months, and I think that helps pack it. Any of this rain is going on and packing it down. So the kids were here with a birthday party, and you can see the footprints. They were back here when the water was high, and it was firm back here. I'm just going to try and go down the shoreline now. Last year when I tried this, I completely sunk and couldn't get too far at all. So I'm gonna go barefoot here, and any of you freaky foot people, just behave, all right? Actually, the least you could do is subscribe. The nice thing about this beach, if it works, and if I can get across there today, I've got $0 into it. So the sand was free, it came out of the property over there, and I had this landscape fabric kicking around half a roll. So if it works, it's a free beach, and I think we can make it look good. It's hard, it's super firm. When we ended that beach video last fall, I really didn't think this was going to work. It was just so soupy and soft. But it must be just the moisture and the time getting that air out of the sand and just packing it slowly with the water. So I took this stick with some measurements on it, sent it down as far as I could see to the bottom, and we took that measurement, and I said, hey, well, I'll come back in a week or two. We'll see how this goes throughout the summer. Well, I never did come back. So that was about 3 months ago. So today we're gonna chip through this ice and get a visual on how far down I can see. How deep is this without getting wet? Oh, that's 2 feet. I can see clearly 2 feet. Break through that ice. I'm gonna get wet. I mean, I can see forever. Look at that. On an angle, I can still see the bottom of that. That's 56 inches. Water quality, water clarity has been so good. Ah, I'm wet, I'm wet. That's cold. That is cold water. So we can see so well. That Christmas tree that you can see, that is probably 4.5 feet at the base of the tree. And I can see all the way down there. So water quality is just so much better this year. If you watch that first pond aerator video that we did, like that was embarrassing how green that water was. We've come a long way and everything seems healthy, happy, just super nice to come out and see nice pond water, not disgusting pond water. Thanks for watching this one. Up next, it's time to catch some bass for this pond.